This year, I plan on pursuing zero waste living, and one of the best ways to do that is by composting. Now, there are many benefits to composting, but one of my favorites is that food scraps and other types of organic waste is used in a very useful manner instead of just ending up in the landfill. Now, composting is super easy and anybody can do it. I found this great tutorial online of someone just using a bucket, but basically you need air, you need water, you need brown organic waste like leaves, and you need green organic waste in about a 3-to-1 ratio. The end result is this amazing soil that can be used for gardening. Now, step by step, first, you need to pick a location. Some people prefer their backyard, like I do. Some people use worms to break down food scraps, which is good for indoor composting. Some people use tumblers, and there's also the bokashi method, which we'll talk about in just a moment. So a good compost bin is going to have roughly 3-to-1 brown organic waste versus green organic waste. There needs to be some moisture, but not too much, and it helps with the decomposition process for it to be turned regularly, which is why some people like to use tumblers so that they can regular flip it. And then after a while, you'll have this beautiful soil. So what should you put in a compost bin? I think it's amazing how much can go in there. So things like cardboard, dead leaves, newspaper, egg cartons, things that you wouldn't expect. So it's not just the green waste like the vegetable scraps or weeds or other items that can go in there. There's so much that people just throw away in their regular trash that can go in a compost bin. However, there are some items that should be avoided. For instance, meat can attract pests and it can be problematic. But if you do small amounts and maybe small amounts of bones, it's not so bad. I tend to throw everything into my compost bin. But one thing you should definitely avoid is pet waste, because this can have harmful pathogens and harmful bacteria, as well as human waste. I feel like that should be self-explanatory, but you never know. Some people avoid dairy products just because they can take a little bit longer to break down. I still toss them in there sometimes, and it can also go rancid. Things that might have a bad smell whenever they start to decompose. Grease doesn't do well in a compost bin, nor does fat. But there are a lot of people that say anything that breaks down, you might as well just throw in there. Now, if I was going to have a recycling and upcycling business someday, I want to do it right. So I would have to find solutions for these other types of waste and things that can't go in the compost bin. But these are generally the main things that shouldn't go in there: meat, dairy, oily foods, diseased plants, pet and human waste. And some people take it even further and they talk about citrus and other things. Now, depending on the type of composting method will determine what you can put in there. So high temperature composting can actually break down pathogens in the meat and the dairy and other harmful products that might go in there. The bokashi method, which is very cool, uses an airtight container and bokashi bran. And this includes meat and dairy for people that are wanting to compost everything. Some people like to use enclosed bins that can be flipped regularly. I just like to keep a pile in my backyard because I don't think composting has to be that complicated or that difficult, but I do forget to flip it from time to time. So when starting out, it's best to choose which method works best for you. If you don't have a backyard, you might consider the bokashi method or some other type of method where it keeps everything enclosed. But anybody can do it, regardless of their living circumstances. Now, it is a dream of mine to one day have my own composting business that goes along with a recycling business that recycles everything. But one step at a time, I want to make sure that I'm first able to do my own composting in my backyard sufficiently before I start branching out and offering my services. So if you have experience with composting business, please feel free to share your advice. And thank you for watching.